Hey, so we have a new episode of Legends and Leaders, and today it's great to have Melissa here. Melissa, you're building an AI tool that it helps people shop better. It gives you a different understanding of what's in the marketplace and just addressing your needs, much more precisely, which is great that you're using this personalization aspect that AI is really good at. So I'm excited to have you here talk about your journey as a builder and what you're up to now.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Awesome. So, Melissa, I'd love to just talk about your interest in entrepreneurship in general, and then also this tie in with shopping. Like, how did your passion for entrepreneurship start, and what led to you having this idea?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I actually was traditionally in finance, just working and living in New York. And I really recognized this pain point at that time that I wanted to solve. I think online shopping then, and even more so now, was really full of friction, and the burden on the consumer to really search and filter for what you want to buy was really high. And I think at that time, I was already using technology and automation in a lot of areas of my life, so even just things like Uber, right? You're using the technology of the app to help drive you to and from work, which really creates time that you can spend on other things in your life. And obviously that now technology is advanced to self-driving cars and with automation. And in other areas like food delivery or even groceries, you're using those apps also to really do those things for you so that you can do other things with your time. And I really saw this like entire area of e-commerce as really broken, and the friction on the consumer to search across websites and tabs and find the products and really research the merchants was a tremendous amount of time. And there was no way and really no technology to do that for us to make it faster and better and more superpowered. And I really wanted that solution. So I set out to solve it, and I founded a company before Wizard that was in the conversational commerce space. So that was really a different word for what today is the AI shopping agent as we know it today. So conversational commerce was very similar in that it was essentially a conversational interface where you asked, for what you were looking for. Let's say like I am looking for the best ski gloves for my upcoming ski trip. And then we were using technology to really scan the entire web and send you the best products, and then plus universal checkout at the end. So fast forward to today, that is really what we're seeing as the AI shopping agent of today. Very similar conversational interface, technology to scan the web, find the best of the web, and then that universal checkout at the end.
So, how did you start this with Marc Lore? How did that relationship occur? That's a great partner to have in this. Marc
Absolutely.
Lore.
So yeah. So at that time, I mentioned the company that I had was called Stylist. We were in the conversational commerce space. And at that same exact time, actually, Mark was CEO of Walmart.com, and he had incubated a company called Jet Black that was here in New York. That was essentially the same thing. It was conversational commerce as well. So really text to shop with a very same product vision. And, it's really been one of his passions for a long, long time. I think he's a tremendous visionary, especially in the retail space, and really saw this, many years ago, starting around the time of 2018 as the future of e-commerce. And so when he actually went to leave Walmart, we actually were in touch and teamed up and really talked about our shared vision around the space. And that's when we started Wizard and co-founded that together. And again, really set out to create the best AI shopping agent. And at that time, that was less known terminology or really less known product vision. But fast forward to today, that's really what Wizard has built.
How did you actually build this technology? Like, where did you start? Because you're indexing the whole web. It seems like for shopping, that's a lot of data to go through.
It is a lot. And I think, that's one word that I think is really important. I think data is one of the keys to really performance within AI. I like the saying that, I think it's when when good AI meets bad data, the data wins. And so it's something that we really focused on in particular in the commerce and the shopping space. I think it's even more paramount because there really is no room for error. And I think when searching for things within products, we obviously, one element obviously is data enrichment. We data enrich products and product catalogs by approximately 90% in many cases. So really making that product more findable and, more able to really match that to the consumer's query. So for us, that's, one of the things we really focus on, but we're really excited about the execution of the overall product and, really the evolution. And to answer your question, how we went about building it, one of the things we we took was really a focus on what we thought right now are the most important elements for consumers, which we believe accuracy, quality, and trust are the three most important things, especially in this domain. And so we actually laser focused on accuracy out of the gate. And within accuracy, we focused on one category, and really essentially just drove accuracy higher and higher and higher in that one category to create like a playbook that we could then apply across all of the e-commerce categories. So really gunned hard for that. And then once we achieved that, we actually expanded that across all the 20 plus e-commerce categories that we're currently in and performing across.
Was there a specific area you wanted to pick to start in, like with shopping, that maybe narrowed it down and made it easier for you? Because it seemed like it's still a lot of information you're
A lot of
deciphering.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
truthfully, it's taken a lot of time. So it's not like an overnight situation. We've been working really hard with the team for a long time. And I think you see also there's about 6 categories that really dominate the bulk of e-commerce. So those are the areas where we've really focused on and really are achieving our highest performance as a company, and also to create the best experience for consumers. So a lot of those categories, like, obviously apparel and footwear, beauty, kitchen and dining, electronics, also toys are really some of the categories that make up around like 80% of that volume out there. And those are where we really want to outperform the competitive agents and provide that really strong experience for consumers, where we think they're actually seeing the most benefit and most impact and really most appetite for agents in their experience. So I do agree, there's many other categories like automotive parts are something that, we haven't focused tremendously on. But I think, there's some parts of e-commerce categories where people may still be utilizing in-store purchases or things like that, and don't make up as much of that bulk of like the consumer demand.
I mean, you have, like, I think it's 90% accuracy is the number that I saw. I mean, that's pretty great, as a level of accuracy. How difficult was it to get to that point compared to when you started out?
It's what you'll see across a lot of agents. It's actually not as hard to get to around that 60% range, but everything
Mm.
above from basically 60 to 70, 70 to 80, every single percentage above that is really a grind. So it's very, very hard. And so, that's where you see a lot of agents performing around that like mid 60s range, because that is much easier. But I think consumers in certain categories, their expectations are higher for obvious reasons. I think commerce in one situation, you can't make mistakes around pricing or out of stock items, or just incorrect representation of that product, whether it's like a heel to toe ratio on a sneaker that I was recently in need of for an injury or things like that. So I think there's a higher bar in the shopping domain. And then I think, as you probably see, I also think consumers' expectations around AI has been rapidly increasing as well. You can think back 2 years ago, we were okay with hallucinations and kind of certain amounts of errors, but I have found even in my own expectations, those have really increased. And I think, stating the obvious, that's only going to continue to increase. And so I think that's something that, our work is not done. We have a lot of work ahead of us to continue to drive that accuracy. But I think one thing that we think is important is, you can be accurate all day long, but that's not enough in this domain as well. I think quality is such an important element for consumers, and something that is also where they spend a tremendous amount of time. And we kind of think about that quality as like the ratings and reviews, but obviously it doesn't stop with like the reviews on websites, but really also taking into account all of like the editorial content, taking into account all the social indicators, all the Reddit, threads, all of that, and really taking that into account to say these are, for example, the best ski gloves of this year for XYZ reasons, because they keep your hands warm and are waterproof and easy to put on and off. Or along those lines, just like the best like New Balance sneakers for ACL injuries or things along those lines. And so I think that quality bucket is vast, and I think it's one that really is a high bar for consumers, but one that consumers have a tremendous appetite for, because I think there's a really difficult right now, for example, you can't go on Amazon and like filter by quality in that same way. And I think there's a lot of garbage out in like the sea of e-commerce land, and people are really hungry for a way to say, I want like a high quality merchant, I want a high quality product, and really have that consumer verification and stamp of approval. So I think accuracy goes so far, but I think quality is also so important for consumers in this one domain in particular.
Have you found, Melissa, that people's shopping habits are changing as they use Wizard?
I do, I think that you're seeing shopping habits change like very quickly. And I think it's also a long time coming. I think, even going back to like 2018, e-commerce felt really broken then. And in part, there had been virtually no innovation in the way we shop for like 20 years, which is crazy. We were using online e-commerce. I mean, Amazon was founded, in like the late 90s. And there was essentially no innovation the way you search, you filter along the left. And then I think the biggest innovations were around really logistics and like, delivery times and things really post-purchase, making checkout faster, making delivery faster, which changed our experience in receiving those goods. But finding those goods, I think, has been broken for a long time. And so I actually think AI is changing so many different domains of our life. I'm super excited about its impact in healthcare, but I really think there's actually a huge, impact to be had in the commerce space, in part because it was so antiquated for so long. And so I think I think the demand is really high to just wipe away all the time and friction that you're spending online shopping and opening a million tabs to find what you want. And so I think there's, huge upside from that regard in terms of that impact that's having for consumers. And I think things are changing, as you were asking, in that, you're seeing across the board the way people are searching. Obviously, search queries are getting longer as people are so much more accustomed to that conversational input, also in various domains for their life. And so I think that's super exciting because that's really the product that we've built is around those more complex queries. And that really is where, everything's headed, whether it's in shopping or other domains. And I also think that really leads to, another element that's exciting is around those in the conversational data that, agents are all acquiring is really tremendous and can be really, really valuable back to the consumer. Like the more you learn about them, really the better the agent will be.
Makes sense. I mean, you're kind of trying to change shopping in general. Shopping's been broken in certain areas. I mean, I'm sure you know that very well. Like, how do you see Wizard evolving to solve other issues within shopping? And, how do you think you're kind of fixing some of the pain points right now in shopping in general?
Yeah, I think some of the key, pain points that we see right now that make up kind of like why it's broken and really the frustration level for consumers is what we see as like the explosion of products online. So the number, e-commerce, as I said, has been growing over the past 25 years now, but really in the past 5 to 10 years, there's been an explosion of products online because of these not just marketplaces, but like the mega marketplaces, like obviously Amazon, Temu, Shein. And so we're again using the same technology to find what you want. And you have to like search and then filter. And that burden has really just grown for the consumer. And we couple that with number two is what we say the implosion of trust. So I think about 75% of sellers on Amazon are like unverified. I think across a lot of different websites, you don't even know if the websites are real. So there's a burden of really authenticating the merchant, the product, and also even reviews. As you know, a tremendous amount of reviews are also fraudulent or, paid for type of reviews. And so that burden has also increased. And so really we see our like Wizard and AI shopping agents really solving both of those pain points in obviously seconds. They're just going to do all the work for you and really, ingest all of that data. And most importantly, synthesize that data and then give you the top results. And so I say, not only will agents do the work for you, but they're going to do it better than you could ever do it yourself if you spent the next week doing it. So I think that's really where the power is we're going to be able to do, not just in this domain, but in all, everything better and faster than we could humanly do.
Do you see Wizard having a role in traditional retail at all? Like kind of like how if you use Google to find products, you can see the online options, but you can also see the in-person options and like it kind of gets put together.
Yeah, I think, I see that a little bit more around like the checkout. So right now, obviously at checkout, I think in a lot of cases we can integrate with same day delivery. So
Yeah.
I think that would be more of like real time because it's in your zip code. I think in store is probably a different level of that. And that probably works primarily in places like New York or other urban centers where there are many more options in terms of in-store in your, in your periphery or in your zip code. But I think we would start first with really that, integrating to enable like that same day delivery from retailers, in your, surrounding areas or in your zip code. That's where we would see the most value out of the gate. But it is exciting to see, as I think what you're also referencing is just other technologies and how those are impacting in-store retail. Because I think in-store retail is also here to stay, and I think that's exciting. And I think that also is going through, some transformation that makes it just also more more powerful to shop in store and be able to check out in different ways and have things delivered, et cetera.
Yeah, because it's interesting because you could kind of apply the technology you've built and integrate into sites directly, or even be more of like a Honey type of tool, but you're going, I think, a bit of a different direction from that.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, Honey. I remember Honey was a great tool. I know that founder also has like another startup as well.
Yeah. He was on our podcast too.
Oh, good. Also in the retail tech space. So that's really great. And obviously he, he was successful in kind of what he did. And so I know he's taking that in a next gen situation, but we're not doing that in terms of like that a Chrome extension along those lines. But I certainly think he's done a tremendous job. But we really like where we are in terms of an agent really across the web, and how that really provides that value to the consumer. And what we see, have been talking about for a while and truthfully is now here faster than we expected is really that world without websites for shopping. So where consumers go to the agent and the agent's going to go to the websites for you. And they're, instead of me having to go to, to find those ski gloves, go to Backcountry, open that, open REI, open Amazon, open Walmart, open et cetera, and shop all those tabs and find the color and the sizing, and then it's out of stock and all those things. The agent's just going to do all the work for you in 1 second and give you the best from across the retailers, and from across the web. And so I think that world that we've been talking about is happening faster and faster. Obviously, with the announcement of like OpenAI and Walmart, you're seeing that where instead of consumers, searching in Google and now being sent out to Amazon or Walmart, they're just going to search in ChatGPT and buy it right there and not even go to Walmart's website. So that is an incredibly big step towards that world. And that detethering from the web, I think, is just a really fascinating change in consumer behavior. And certainly, it's definitely caused, merchants across the board to consider the fact that volume on their websites is headed down rapidly. And how they need to be responding to that to continue to get their products seen in agents' results has accelerated in terms of incredibly urgent need. But I think it's really a huge win for consumers and an exciting time, I think, for AI shopping agents in general, to really provide that value to consumers. And I'm super excited to detether from the web and from the archaic process of shopping across multiple tabs, and be able to really have that, wizard agent that does it for me.
So Melissa, just the last question I have, what is your long-term vision for Wizard right now? Where do you see this going?
I think one of the most powerful things right now, we're seeing basically AI agents launch and provide this value that I mentioned. But, right now that is really much more reactive. So, right, it's when I have a search. So I'm looking for those like New Balance sneakers or those ski gloves, and really providing that power to me to be able to search the web. But I obviously think the next layer that is even more powerful is really the proactive agent that is saying, hey, your wife's birthday is next month. Here are 3 things that we know she likes. And you're like, boom, 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 add to cart, checkout, done, and deliver with gift wrap. And so I think that is the next gen of AI shopping agents. And that's really where it becomes even more powerful. So it's obviously a world where we each have our own personalized agent, so that when I shop for ski gloves and you shop for ski gloves, we both get different results because it knows us. It knows exactly what we like. It knows how we ski. It knows, our sizes and our price points and our preferences. And so I think that layer and that really world where you have your personalized agent that not only executes your shopping, but also proactively tells you what you need to be shopping ahead of when you are, is really the power of the future. And I think that future is here. So I think that, it's going to be here really fast. And I'm really excited for consumers and also for merchants, because I think it really actually enhances, the transaction of volume of goods and purchasing, and is a win-win for both sides. The consumer gets what they want and the merchant's selling more goods in a proactive manner that really converts at a much higher rate. So really excited about that future.
Yeah. Melissa, thanks for coming on and taking the time to do this. I think it's really impressive what you built and how you're envisioning this entire different way to interact with shopping on the web. I mean, like you mentioned, it hasn't changed that much. I mean, it's gotten faster, more convenient, but there hasn't been like a new way to shop since this has been created. So I'm excited to see how Wizard's going to, change this space and innovate more. And thanks for coming on and doing this.